This tutorial is for 2nd grade Module 3, Lesson 20. In this lesson, we're going to use our place value charts to see what happens when we add groups of 1s and 10s to a number. The directions say model each problem with a partner on your place value chart. Circle if you made a 10 or a 100. We look at the first problem. It's asking what's one more than 39. We're going to start by showing 39 on the place value chart. So I'll start with 3 groups of 10 for the 30 and 9 ones for the ones place. So here I have 39 on my place value chart. Now we're going to take one more than that, meaning I'm going to add a ones disk. When I add that ones disk, I now have 10 disks in my ones column. That means I can group those and change them into a tens disk. Since 10 ones is the same thing as 1 10. When I do that, I end up with the number 40. I now have 4 groups of 10, which means that we ended up making a 10 when we added that extra ones disk. In my next problem, I'm going to start with 190. So that would be 1 group of 100 and 9 groups of 10. So I'll draw my 9 disks showing 9 groups of 10. And there's 190. Now we're going to add 10 more to that number, meaning I'm going to add one more tens disk. When I do that, that gives me 10 groups of 10, which I can then group and change into a 100 disk, since 10 groups of 10 equals 100, and we'll get rid of those. So when I added 10 more to 190, I got 200. And when I added that 10, I was able to bundle my 10 tens and make 100. Next, we're going to start with 390. So I need 3 disks in my hundreds column to show the 300. And then I need 9 disks in my tens column. And there's my 390. We're going to take 10 more than that number, which means, again, I will add a tens disk. And that will allow me to bundle these 10 and trade them in for a 100s disk. These are gone. That means 10 more than 390 is 400. You can see the 4 disks in my hundreds column. And when we did that trading in, we made 100 when we grouped our 10 tens and traded it in for 100. I'm going to use a place value chart to help me with the next section as well. This time we want one less than 120. So we'll start with 100 and 2 tens to show 120. Well, if we're going to go one less than that number, we need to cross off a ones disk. Well, I don't have any disks in my ones column. So now I'm going to decompose or unbundle this 10. I'm going to change it into 10 ones. So you can see that 120 is still the same thing as 100, a 10, and 10 ones. What that allows me to do is take away that 1 to show one less. Now I see that I have 100, 110, and 9 ones. So one less than 120 is 119. In problem B, we want to know 10 more than 296. So we'll start with 2 hundreds, 9 tens, and 6 ones. And we want to show 10 more than that number, which means I'll add a tens disk, which gives me 10 groups of 10 in my tens column. And I can bundle those and trade them in for 100. That means the answer to 10 more than 296 is 3 hundreds, 0 tens, since we bundled all of them and moved them over, and 6 ones. 10 more than 296 is 306. In problem C, we want to find 100 less than 229. So I'll show 229 as two groups of 100, two groups of 10, and 9 ones. To show 100 less than that number, we'll just cross off one of our hundreds. That leaves me with 100, 2 tens, and 9 ones. 100 less than 229 is 129. Problem D says something more than 598 is equal to 608. Well, let's start with our 598 on the place value chart. That means I need 5 groups of 100, 9 groups of 10, and 8 ones. So here's 598. We need to get to 608. Well, if I add another 100 onto my place value chart, that would give me 600s, but it would still keep me at 9 tens and 8 ones, so that would be 698. We want 608. That means I need to add another 10, because when I add that 10, I now have 10 groups of 10, and I can bundle those and trade them in for a 100s disc. And that means I get rid of all those 10s. Now I have 6 groups of 100, 0 10s, and 8 ones. So how did we go from 598 to 608? We added one group of 10. And in our last question, we want to know how we can go from 839 to 840. So let's start by showing the 839. That would be 8 groups of 100, 3 groups of 10, and 9 ones. So there's 839. We want to get to 840. Well, if I added a tens disc, that would give me 4 discs in my tens column, but then my number would be 849. We just want 840. That means all I have to do is add a ones disc. When I do that, I now have 10 ones, which I can bundle and trade in for a tens disc. Now I have 8 hundreds, 4 tens, and 0 ones. So how did we get from 839 to 840? We added one ones disc. So you can see how the place value chart helps us think through these place value problems.